Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault, and once again I'm coming to you with another field strip video. And in today's field strip, I'm going to be showing you how to take apart for cleaning and maintenance the Jennings Firearms J25. This is a 25 auto vest pocket style pistol that many people call a Saturday night special. These were very prolific crime guns in the 1970s and 80s. A lot of them were made, and they're not very high quality and not very reliable. Now, I was not planning on doing this video until I actually tried to field strip this and clean it. And it does not come apart in a very obvious way, so I wanted to make this video for people in the future in case you had one of these or were just curious on how they came apart. Now, when I did take this gun apart, I had a few things literally fly off of it. Now, some people claim that if you're not careful when you take these apart, parts will fall off. And so I wanted to share that experience with you in case you take this gun apart and have the same issue, to know how to put it back together and put it back in an operable condition. So let's start this field strip by dropping the magazine. It has a heel release here in the back. We can then push that magazine out, ensure there's no ammunition in it, set that aside. And then, of course, visually inspect that chamber, ensure there is no ammunition in it, and it looks like we are good. So what we're going to do to take this gun apart is we have to compress this back plate on the slide. And so what I'm going to do is kind of put my thumb in the trigger guard so I can push this slide back, and I'm going to take a punch and I'm going to depress that plate. And at some point, I will be able to lift up on this slide. So I'll put my thumb in there. I will depress that back plate. I will then pull the slide back. It should come up and forward. And that is the basic field strip right there. You do have your recoil spring. And in the slide, you can take out that back plate, which has the firing pin spring in it. And you can also take out the firing pin. Now, the problem I had when I first took this apart is with the sear and this little part on the side, which is black, called the cam. And sometimes when you take these guns apart, these fall out. And so just in case yours comes out, I want to show you how to put it back together. So in order to show you, I will take off the right side grip, and we're going to take a look at this mechanism. It's relatively simple. So the part that I'm talking about is right here, and it looks like it's L-shaped, and that is called the cam, and it's only held in place by these two little pins, and it can simply fall off this gun. So what ends up happening is when people field strip this, they end up pushing this sear down, and then all the parts fly out, and you want to be really careful. So I'm going to show you how to take this out in case you're wondering. So all you have to do is drop the trigger bar, and you're going to push down on the sear, and you should be able to lift up on this cam and then slowly release the sear assembly. And that's it. So in case those two parts fall out of that gun, you now know what they are. Now, when this happened to me, this cam flew halfway across the room, and it took me about 15 minutes to find. But it's really, really easy to install. So let me go ahead and wipe this pistol down, and then we're going to show you how to put it all back together, including the sear assembly and the cam. So we got this Jennings J25 all cleaned up and ready to go back together. So we're going to start with the sear assembly and the cam. And so the first thing we're going to do is install the sear assembly. Now, it's really important that when it comes to this, the peak or the high point of this sear is facing the back, and it's going to go right there, and you have to make sure it has the spring, and you can push that down. The next thing we're going to do is grab the cam. You'll notice it does have two holes in it, which correspond to a pin that goes through the frame and the sear assembly. And this leg is going to go down around the trigger bar. And so I like to start it on the rear pin. Now this is where you have to be really careful. I'm holding the trigger bar down, and when you lower this sear assembly, you have to make sure you don't let it go, otherwise it will go flying across the room. So I'm going to go ahead and push that sear assembly down and push this cam in, and as you can see, it's a little bit tricky. Let me try this again. There we go. And then I got to make sure that trigger bar goes all the way down and around that cam, just like that. And be careful, it doesn't fly off. And right now we are set. Okay, so I'm going to be very careful and put on the grip and the screw. And of course, I want to be careful not to cross thread that. These are not made of the best material, so you want to be gentle with it. Tighten that down, and hopefully that will hold that cam and sear into the receiver. Now when it comes to the slide, you want to put in the firing pin first. And the way you know it goes in is this large flat surface is going to go towards the chamber. So we can insert that through the rear. Then we can insert the spring and that back plate. Then we'll take the frame, put the recoil spring over the barrel, and then we can put the slide over the barrel. And then we're going to need to get that punch again because we have to depress this back plate. And so once it comes all the way back over that barrel, and make sure it goes through it. This can be a little bit tricky. There we go. And so you have to have it angled up like this. You push in that back plate, then you can drop the slide onto that frame, and then slowly let the slide go forward, and that back plate should come flush with the end. And you know you put it together right if when you pull the slide back all the way, you can see the end of the striker, and the gun would fire if it had ammunition in it. And then of course insert the magazine. And that is a complete field strip and reassembly of a Jennings Firearms J25, including the cam and the sear assembly, just in case it flies out when you try to do this. So I hope this video helps somebody in the future, and it's kind of an interesting look at a very infamous pistol. So once again, I hope this video helps somebody in the future. And as always, thanks for watching.